She found out her husband was in love with another woman on a Tuesday morning. Not through a text message. Not through a rumor. He sat across from her at the breakfast table, looked her in the eye, and told her himself. No apology. No tears. Just words, flat and cold, like he was reading from a list. And the worst part? Stella did not scream. She did not throw anything. She simply nodded, stood up, and went to wash the dishes. Because after 8 years of loving Edwin Carew, she had learned how to swallow pain and smile through it. But that was before her birthday. Before Geneva. Before she watched her own daughter hold another woman's hand and call her mama. That was the moment Stella Owens stopped being soft. And the moment Edwin Carew began to lose everything. But let us go back to the beginning. Because this story did not start with a villain. It started with a girl who loved too much. Stella Owens was 23 years old when she met Edwin Carew at a real estate conference in Lagos. He was sharp, well-dressed, and the kind of man who walked into a room and made people look twice. He spoke with confidence. He had opinions about everything. And when he turned that attention towards Stella, she felt like the only person in the room. They dated for a year. He proposed on a quiet evening at a small restaurant, no crowd, no fanfare, just a ring and a question. She said yes before he finished asking. Their first year of marriage was good enough. Not perfect, but good. Edwin worked long hours. Stella worked too, building a name for herself in real estate. They had a rhythm. But somewhere in the second year, the warmth started to leave. Edwin stopped asking about her day. He stopped reaching for her hand. When she talked, he listened with the kind of face that told her he was not really listening at all. She told herself it was stress. She told herself he was just a man who did not know how to show his feelings. She told herself a lot of things. By the third year, she had gotten pregnant. Their daughter Mara arrived small and loud and full of life, and for a little while, the baby filled the space between them. Edwin was a decent father. He showed up. But showing up and being present are two different things, and Edwin was always just showing up. Stella tried everything. She planned surprise dinners. She bought gifts. She wore dresses she knew he liked. She asked him once, gently, sitting beside him on the couch while Mara slept, "Edwin, are we okay?" He did not even look up from his phone. "We're fine, Stella. Stop looking for problems." She swallowed that too. By year 5, Edwin started traveling more for work. Abuja. Accra. London. He would be gone for 2-3 weeks at a time. When he came back, he was more distant than before he left. Stella raised Mara mostly alone. She handled the school runs, the parent-teacher meetings, the nighttime fevers and the bad dreams. She did it all with a smile because she had convinced herself that this was just what marriage looked like when you stayed. That love was not always flowers. Sometimes love was just staying. Then came year 6, and a woman named Nadia Laurent. It was a regular evening. Edwin had just returned from a trip to London. Stella had cooked his favorite meal. Mara was already in bed. They were sitting at the dinner table and Edwin had barely touched his food. Stella was telling him something about a deal she had just closed, something she was proud of, when he put down his fork and looked at her. "Stella, I need to tell you something." She stopped talking. Something about his tone made her stomach drop. "I met someone. In London. I wasn't looking for it. It just happened." He said it like that. Simple. Clean. Like he was telling her about a traffic jam. Stella put her fork down slowly. "What do you mean you met someone?" "I mean I have feelings for someone else." Her name is Nadia. She's based in Geneva now. I think you deserve to know." The room went very quiet. Stella could hear the hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. She could hear her own heartbeat. She looked at this man she had given 8 years of her life to, and she searched his face for something, anything. Regret. Shame. Pain. There was nothing. "You think I deserve to know," she repeated slowly. Yes. She stood up. Picked up her plate. Walked to the kitchen. And she stood over the sink for a long time, gripping the edge of it, breathing. She did not cry. Not yet. She was not ready to give him that. She kept going. She went to work every day. She took Mara to school. She kept the house running. Edwin moved to the guest room without being asked. They lived around each other like two strangers sharing a building. But here is the thing about Stella. She had not yet given up. Deep in a place she was ashamed of, she still believed she could fix it. Still believed that if she was patient enough, good enough, strong enough, he would remember who she was to him. That belief died on her birthday. Edwin had taken Mara to Geneva for what he called a work trip that had stretched into a holiday. Stella had stayed behind. But as her birthday approached and Mara called every evening asking when Mummy was coming, something shifted in Stella. She booked a flight. She did not tell Edwin. She wanted to surprise Mara. She missed her daughter. She needed to hold her. She arrived in Geneva on a bright cold morning. She had dressed nicely for the first time in months, a coat she loved, her hair done properly, a little bit of color on her lips. She felt something close to hopeful as she stepped out of the airport. She called Edwin to find out where Mara was. He picked up on the third ring, and his voice was flat. "Why are you calling?" "I'm in Geneva, Edwin. I came to see Mara. It's my birthday." A pause. A long one. "You should have told me you were coming. I wanted to surprise Mara." Another pause. Then, "I'll send you an address." The address led her to a park near the lake. It was beautiful, the kind of beautiful that felt cruel under the circumstances. She got out of the taxi and started walking, looking for Mara's bright yellow coat in the crowd. She found her, and then she saw Edwin. He was laughing. Actually laughing, the way she had not seen him laugh in years. He was looking at a woman beside him, a tall, elegant woman with easy grace, the kind of woman who looked like she never had bad days. Nadia. It had to be Nadia. Stella had never seen her before, but she knew. The way Edwin looked at her, that said everything, and then Stella saw Mara. Mara was holding Nadia's hand. She was skipping. Happy. Unbothered. And as Stella watched, Mara tugged on Nadia's arm and said something, and Nadia laughed and bent down, and Stella stepped closer without thinking, close enough to hear, "Mama Nadia, look at the ducks." The words hit Stella like a physical blow. She actually took a step back. Edwin spotted her then. His face changed, but not with guilt. Not with shame. With something closer to irritation. He walked toward her, and his voice was low. "Stella. You shouldn't have come. She's my daughter, Edwin. You should have called first. You're making this awkward." Stella looked past him at Mara, who had now noticed her and was waving with a big smile. "Mummy." But before Stella could move toward her, Nadia took Mara's hand gently and the three of them stood together, Edwin, Nadia and Mara, like a portrait of a family. A family Stella was not part of. Edwin turned back to her. "We're going to lunch. It would be better if you didn't come." Stella stared at him. "Edwin, Stella, please. Don't do this." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at Mara, who was now distracted by the ducks again, laughing at something Nadia said. And something inside Stella, something that had been holding on by its fingernails for 8 years. "Let go, have a nice lunch," she said. Quiet. Steady, she turned and walked back the way she came. She did not run. She did not cry in public. She walked to a bench a little distance away and she sat down. She watched them walk away. Edwin's hand on the small of Nadia's back. Mara skipping between them. They did not look back. Stella sat on that bench for a long time. People walked by. A couple shared an ice cream. 2 old men played chess nearby. The sun moved slowly across the sky. And Stella sat there, completely still, dismantling 8 years of hope brick by brick inside her chest. Then she picked up her phone and called a number. "Mr. Adiz. It's Stella. I need you to prepare divorce papers. Full custody to Edwin. I am not asking for anything else. Not the house, not money, nothing. Just get me out." Her lawyer's voice was careful. "Stella, are you sure? Giving up custody means legally, I know what it means. If my daughter already has a new mother, then I am not going to fight over her like a piece of property. Just do it." She booked a hotel that night. Ordered room service. Sat by the window looking out at the lights of Geneva. And she cried. Not for Edwin. She was done crying for Edwin. She cried for Mara, for the little girl who had started calling another woman mama, and for the version of herself she had spent 8 years slowly losing. But by morning, something had changed. She wiped her face. Ordered breakfast. Called her old colleague, Bimp, back in Lagos. "Bimp. Is the Lekki project still open?" "Stella, yes, it is, but I thought I'm coming back. Get me into that meeting." She flew home 2 days later. And the Stella Owens that walked back into Lagos was not the same one that had left. This one was done being patient. Done being soft. Done waiting for a man to see her worth. She went back to work like a woman with something to prove. And she did have something to prove, but not to Edwin. To herself. Within her first week, she closed a deal her colleagues had been struggling with for 3 months. By the end of the first month, she had 2 more deals on the table. She had always been sharp in business. Edwin's coolness toward her had made her doubt herself so much that she had forgotten. Now she remembered, people who had whispered behind her back that she only got her position because of her husband's name started going very quiet. Her name began to appear in conversations she was not in the room for. A business newspaper did a small feature on her. Her phone started ringing more. Meanwhile, she waited for the divorce certificate. She had signed her documents. Her lawyer had filed everything. All Edwin had to do was sign and it would be over. She waited a month. Nothing. She called Mr. Adiz. "He hasn't signed yet, Stella. He keeps requesting more time." Stella was quiet for a moment. "More time for what?" "He's the one that walked away, I know. I'll follow up again." She put down the phone and sat with that for a while. Something felt off. But she pushed it aside and went back to work. Then Edwin started appearing. It started small. He called one evening, his voice oddly uncertain, to ask if Mara could spend the weekend with Stella. She said yes. She always said yes when it came to Mara. She missed her daughter deeply, and the weekend with Mara was the best 2 days she had had in a long time. They watched movies and made pancakes and laughed so much that Stella almost forgot how much everything hurt. Then Edwin showed up at the house on a Monday evening. Stella opened the door and just looked at him. "What do you want, Edwin?" "I was in the area. I just wanted to check on what, exactly?" He had no answer for that. She let him in because she was too tired to argue, but she kept her distance, moving around the kitchen while he sat at the table, awkward and out of place in a home he had never really wanted to be in. He came back that Thursday. Then the following week. He started lingering. Asking the housekeeper how Stella was eating. Sending Mara over more often. Stella watched all of it with calm, careful eyes, the way you watch an animal that has surprised you by returning to a place it abandoned. One evening, she was sitting at the dining table going through contracts when she heard his key in the door. He still had a key. She had not thought to ask for it back. He came in, sat down across from her. She did not look up from her papers. The silence stretched. Finally, Edwin said, "I heard you've been doing well. The Lecky project, Stella." She looked up then. "I also heard you've been pushing for the divorce." She put her pen down. "I've been pushing for it since I came back from Geneva, Edwin. You're the one who hasn't signed." He stood up. Slowly. He walked around the table toward her, and something about his posture was different. Uncertain. Like a man who had rehearsed something 100 times and suddenly forgotten all his lines. He stopped beside her chair. She looked up at him. "A divorce is not happening, Stella." She blinked. Then she leaned back in her chair and looked at him the way you look at someone who has just said something that doesn't make sense. "I beg your pardon," I said, "it's not happening." His voice was low, almost rough, nothing like his usual cool. Stella tilted her head. And she smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a sad smile. Something colder. "Edwin. Sit down, Stella, sit down." He sat. Slowly. She folded her hands on the table and looked at him clearly. No anger, no tears, just honesty. "You spent 8 years making me feel like I was invisible. I cooked your meals, raised your daughter, kept your home, and held everything together while you looked through me like I was furniture. Then you sat across from me at our own dinner table and told me you had fallen for someone else. You took Mara to a foreign country and introduced her to that woman. You left me standing alone in a park in Geneva on my birthday, Edwin. On my birthday." He opened his mouth. She kept going. "You walked away with your family, and you didn't look back. Not once. And now I have moved on. I have built something of my own. I have started becoming myself again. And now you want to tell me that a divorce is not happening." He looked at the table. "I made mistakes, mistakes." She repeated the word like she was tasting it. "Edwin, a mistake is burning the toast. What you did was a choice. Every single day, for 8 years, you made choices. And I lived with all of them, I know." His voice cracked slightly. "I know that. And I'm telling you that I was wrong." "You were wrong," she said softly. "Yes. You were. But I am not a house you can abandon for years and then come back to claim when someone else makes you see its value. I am not a property." She stood up, picked up her contracts, and walked toward the stairs. "Sign the papers, Edwin. It is the last respectful thing you can do for me." She climbed the stairs and did not look back. Edwin sat at that table alone for a long time. He looked around the dining room, at the home Stella had kept beautiful without him, at the small drawing Mara had made that was still stuck on the refrigerator, at the empty chair where Stella had been sitting, and for the first time in years, he felt what it actually meant to be alone in a full house. He called Nadia that night. She picked up, breezy and light. "Edwin. I was just thinking about you. Are you flying over soon?" He was quiet for a moment. "Nadia. What are we doing?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, what are we actually doing? We've been going back and forth for months." "What is this?" She laughed softly. "Edwin, you're overthinking it. Come to Geneva and we'll talk properly. I have a daughter here. I have a wife. You're getting a divorce, am I?" Another laugh, but this one had a different edge. "What's gotten into you?" Is this about Stella? He did not answer. Edwin, Stella has moved on. She's not sitting around waiting for you. You told me yourself. I know. Then what is the problem? He thought about that question for a long time after the call ended. What was the problem? The problem was that he had watched Stella become someone he recognized again, someone confident, sharp, unbothered, and he had realized too late that the woman who had quietly loved him through everything was the most valuable person he had ever had. Not because she stayed through his coldness, but because the moment she decided to leave, she did it with so much dignity that it shook him. He had expected her to beg. She did not beg, he had expected her to fight. She did not fight, she had simply decided she was done, and she had meant it. He signed the papers 3 weeks later. Stella received the divorce certificate on a quiet Friday morning. She was having tea when Mr. Adiz called. It came through, Stella. It's official, she exhaled slowly. Thank you. She put the phone down and held her mug of tea with both hands and sat with the moment. She waited for the sadness to hit. It came, but it was softer than she expected. Like the last day of a storm. 6 months passed. Mara settled into a routine of moving between both parents. Edwin had ended things with Nadia quietly. No drama, no announcement. Nadia had moved on almost immediately, which told him everything he needed to know about what that had actually been. Mara, children being wiser than adults often give them credit for, had slowly started calling Nadia Auntie again without anyone asking her to. Children are not confused by love. They know where it lives. One Saturday morning, Mara was at Stella's place. They were in the kitchen, Stella making eggs, Mara sitting on the counter and talking about absolutely nothing the way children do when they are happy. And Mara stopped mid-sentence. Looked at her mother and said, Mummy. Are you happy now? Stella looked at her daughter. This small, bright, impossible person who had somehow come through everything without breaking, she smiled. And this time, it reached her eyes. I'm learning to be. And that feels really good. Mara seemed satisfied with that. She went back to talking about her friend at school who had a pet rabbit. Stella turned back to the eggs and smiled to herself. She had not fixed her marriage. She had not gotten her husband back. She had not raised her daughter in the perfect home she had once imagined. But she had gotten something back that no one could take again. Herself. Edwin learned his lesson the hard way. The way stubborn people always do. He learned that you cannot treat someone like they are ordinary, every single day, and then be shocked when they finally believe you. He learned that coldness is not strength. It is just fear wearing a suit. And he learned that a woman who decides she is done is the most final thing in the world. Drop a comment below and tell me what part of Stella's journey hit you the hardest. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and hit the like button so more people can find stories like this one. There are more coming, and trust me, you do not want to miss them.